Good night, Belizeans at home and abroad. This is the Belizean Affairs Show number 471. 471. Tonight being Friday, I would normally be your chairman for the program, for the whole program, but I'm looking forward to having a guest co-chairman for tonight's program. And as soon as he becomes available, I'll try and make sure I'm attentive enough to let him in on the set. But as we normally would do to begin our program, we say a short prayer, after which we do a short biblical reading, and then we get into the program proper. Until the co-chairman shows up, I will endeavor to do a fill-in for about the first few minutes of the program. After which, when the co-chairman shows up, we'll transition probably to another subject matter. But in the interim, I have something that I would like to present to you, our Belizeans, brothers and sisters at home and abroad. And I think it might be of some interest to you as well, especially in the light of the travesties, travails, and tribulations that we're suffering in our country as of this point in time and most recently. Okay, so therefore, let me just get busy. Before I do that as well, please spare me a couple of seconds, a few minutes, not a few, just about a minute or so, just so I can enable some of the other viewers of our program to look at us on the other platforms or visit our program on the other platforms. Just spare me a few more seconds, please. Let's see, I need to do edit. So I can quickly do this. Okay. Come on. $4.71. Okay. Belizean Affairs, commercial, 21. Okay. Friday 7th. Symbols. No, I'm sorry. It's 26. I'm jumping where. Okay. I'm just about finished. 2 more clicks. And it should be there. That's it. Done. Save. And we're ready to roll. Okay. I'm back. I'll just go ahead and bow my head and say a short prayer. Divine Living Father, once again we come before thy presence, asking that thou would accept our humble expression of gratitude and thankfulness to you, first and foremost for having granted us the privilege of life, and secondly for the opportunity to still be alive today among our family members, friends, and loved ones. And we pray that thou mayest bless each and every one of our family members and friends and loved ones as well. We pray that thou mayest bless our country of Belize, its people and its leadership, and our Belizean people at home and abroad as well. We pray that thou mayest bless this country, its people and leadership, and the rest of humanity, especially those people who are in harm's way in tornadoes, hurricanes, earthquakes, and many other devastations on the face of this earth, including man-made disasters such as wars and others, who are losing their limbs and lives and liberty. We pray that thou mayest continue to have mercy upon us, loving Father. Those who need food and clothes and shelter, may thou be merciful unto them as well. Whatever we have to say on tonight's program may accrue to the benefit of our Belizean people at home and abroad, as well as others. Please give us the word to speak, so that whatever we say may be words of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and help us to speak truth to power when need be. We ask these mercies in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you very much for bearing patient with us as we go through the mechanics of our pattern of presenting our program. I'd also like to do a little short reading here from, let me see what I'm going to pick for today. Nehemiah, no. That's too far back. Let me see. Proverbs. Those of you who have been listening to our program on a regular basis would probably realize that a lot of our readings come from the books of Ecclesiastes, Songs of Solomon, and Proverbs. Even though we read from other books in the Bible as well. But I fancy myself reading from these three particular books, Ecclesiastes, Proverbs, Songs of Solomon, because of the quotations that are therein, and as someone who is philosophically inclined, to be using the language to convey deeper thoughts and thoughts that are, deep enough to move the human or humanity, basically. So I find inspiration in these particular books for sometimes the subject matters that I like to deal with. I don't see anyone in the background yet, so I'll just proceed. I'll read Proverbs chapter, let me see here. Yeah, I'll go and read Proverbs chapter 31. And I'll start at verse 10. And it reads, "Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies. The heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. She seeketh wool and flax, and worketh willingly with her hands." And that should be the reading for tonight. I don't think I need to expound too much on that particular reading because it's self-explanatory. And it's part of our human travails, tribulations, and trials. I would like to then, as part of the program for the preemptive first few minutes of our program, I'd like to go to an article here that was written by a gentleman by the name of Norris Hall. And this gentleman is someone who most Belizeans would be very familiar with. Why? Because he has been in the limelight of our country's political affairs, philosophical affairs. He's been around in our society and is highly respected, well qualified and competent and capable and experienced in the affairs of politics and governance of our country. He may not have become an elected official, but he served our country in many different capacities to be able to have contributed significantly to our country becoming what it now turns out to be, like many other hundreds of Belizeans like himself, who have contributed the best of what they had to offer without pulling punches. And yet, I'm going to say that the gentleman, from my knowledge base and my archive base, would seem to be someone who advocates strenuously from the perspective of a PUP party member and or supporter. But in this particular case, why I'm taking the privilege to present this commentary that he did is because the commentary is addressing some of the ills that our country is currently wrestling with. And when I read this gentleman's article, knowing who he was within the context of where he's coming from, I can see that the gentleman is speaking truth to power, despite the fact that the power that controls the country right now in regards to governance of our country is led by the very same people whom he has supported and provided support for and advocate their policies, advocate for their policies. And therefore, I need to give the gentleman his kudos when he steps to the plate and speaks truth to power, despite the fact that that power is his own political alignment. Without any further ado, I'd just like to start the presentation of the gentleman's commentary and essay, right? Mr. Norris Hall went on to say, the least the Prime Minister, he didn't put of Belize, I'm just adding that, the least the Prime Minister of Belize should do for now, comma, is to step down from his post. And then Mr. Norris Hall went on to open a bracket here within which he included, that is to say, take a sabbatical, and close bracket, he went on to say, and kneel to a more mature minister in his cabinet who has the intellectual gravitas. I know that's a big word for a lot of our average listener, but what it means, in other words, someone who is not only just mature, but is cognizant and thinks deeply, seriously, and honestly about matters of governance, and has the ability to be able to use wisdom to exercise policies of state, or to bring into existence policies of state that will be according to the Constitution preamble in the best interest of the society at large, and not in his own personal interest as a first priority, or the interest of his family members or friends in particular, which is what ails our country and people presently. We have someone who is the Prime Minister of the country who is so onerous to the point of bastardizing our Constitution and even ignoring that it exists, which commands him not even to have the appearance of deviousness or delinquency, much less criminality. But I'm adding all these extra words now, and I'm getting away from the gentleman's prepared notes, which I am trying to make use of in this preemptive presentation before the chairman shows up. I know any minute now he might be available, and I would have to cease and desist my rant on this particular presentation, but I would like to hopefully get to do as much of it as possible. So I'm just going to proceed. And again, it's a nice article, and it's not too long. And what I think I should try and do then is to hopefully stick to reading just what he has here, and then hopefully be able to make some contextual comments afterwards, so I don't drag this out too long without completing his essay, and then have to yield to the co-chairman for probably a different perspective or a different point of programming for tonight. So let me just try and get about doing that then. Okay, so I'm sorry, I need to drink a little while. Okay, so sorry about that extra break in between there just now. It was unanticipated. So I read where it speaks about the intellectual gravitas, a cabinet member who has the maturity and intellectual gravitas to deal with the national issues and spare him, the Prime Minister, from further embarrassment. That is that this gentleman, even though as a supporter of the Prime Minister and the present government, is trying to bring to the attention of the Prime Minister that everybody is seeing him as a leader without clothes. We're all out here, his supporters as well as non-supporters, are looking at him running around without clothes on and not expecting anybody to be looking at him strange, or pointing out the errors, omissions, and oversight of his wanting to be running around half naked. It doesn't make sense in our society. You cannot be committing criminal acts behind the powers of governance, because then what effectively you're doing is violating the laws of the very country that you're supposed to be governing. And you, as the Prime Minister, or anyone else for that matter of fact, are not above the law. Section 16 of the Constitution stipulates that everybody is equal under the law. And we only have one constitution at a time. So yes, you as the Prime Minister may have had the temerity and the wishes to create a constitutional reform commission / People's Constitution Commission, one and the same with different words, or a renamed same program, with the idea of bastardizing our current constitution and, or if possible, eviscerate our current constitution in lieu of what you was proposing to become our new constitution. When in fact, we have lived long enough to see what your endeavor entailed and found you to be wanting in terms of your overreach and your connivingness and your deviousness in terms of ripping off the wealth of the country for yourself and your other colleagues and cronies them and other family members. I mean, you're so bold-faced in doing these things. You're doing it right in our face and telling us, well, you don't want to address it. You just want to accomplish it. Somehow or another, I think the DPP should bring to your table a request for you to come to court and answer for lawful, legal, and justifiable causes that probably you can end up having to go to jail for breaking the laws of the country. The average civilian can't come to a prime minister or a leader of government and do any kind of like civilian or civil arrest. It will take the system to get on its foot and do what needs to be done within the system. The system requires that anybody that violates the Constitution or violates any law or violates or act illegally or commits a crime, even if that crime is being committed under the color of law, that person should be taken and prosecuted. We know that's not going to happen under the present system and without having UNCAC in place, because most of these people who are supposed to be guarding those gates and making sure that criminals and crimes doesn't get committed are beholden to you as the prime minister and don't want their jobs to be, put at jeopardy. So they let you as a criminal committing criminal acts barefacedly get away with the crimes that you commit because you're not being held to account, or no one will step forward to try and hold you to account. And the members of cabinet, who are probably the quickest and easiest way to hold you to account, we cannot get enough of them in there to put a brakes on your criminalities. So therefore, you get away with your criminalities and you don't go to jail because you can't get convicted without you being tried. Let me get back to Mr. Norris Hall's commentary, please. Instead of just running on doing my own, as I'm saying, let me back up. Let me back up a little bit. I need to control my piece. Okay, so Mr. Hall went on to say, to deal with these national issues and spare him, as the Prime Minister, from further embarrassing the People's United Party, which is the party I was referring to earlier, and the government. It may also help to frustrate his scheming attempt to secure a fat pension in multiple millions of dollars at the expense of ordinary shareholders from the illegal sale of the private company in which he and his cohorts are scheming to offload for $80 million on the state-owned telecommunication company. A company he has stocked, a company which he, the Prime Minister, has stocked with his few well-known corrupt and ruthless individuals on its board of directors. There are exemptions. If he is not a part of the solution, he has become a part of a national problem. Resign, my friend, he said to the Prime Minister. You don't have what it takes. Time tested. You are not leadership material. And that was the end of Mr. Norris Hall's penned commentary as regards to what he sees ails us and our country as the current and ongoing trials, tribulations, and public concern. Now, For those who listen to the program and who may not be aware of, I'm looking in the back room trying to make sure I don't let the co-chairman sits there too long. I'm hoping that I'll be able to see him in time to bring him on. So, but I'll just continue the program on the same vein and making a few little comments about what I just read there, uh, in the context of how I perceive what's going on in the country. We have a company by the name of BTL. The BTL used to be called Belize Telemedia, Belize Telephone Company. But when this company was originally made, it was done so that the people of Belize could have owned or have some control over it, who owned some shares. They had what then was called a golden share, so that we, as the country of Belize, will be able to sell some of the shares to private individuals. I was one of the persons that was involved with that. I bought some of the shares myself back then, and a lot of other people did. So the government was able to raise some funds to help finance and upgrade the telecommunication systems and put it on a good foot. Also investing some government equity into the process. The bylaws of the company at that time, I'm talking about back in the early 90s now, okay? Was it early 90s or early 80s? I don't recall exactly. I think it was well, mid 80s was when the UDP first came to office in 84. Anyhow, let me go back to the point, because I'm straying away, or I'm making this explanation a bit too long. And for those who know what I'm talking about, they may just get bored of hearing what I have to offer or what I have to say. But there's a lot of people who are unfamiliar with what came before, and they are not in a position to recognize why is it we're seeing the results that we're seeing because of where we are. So we need to know where we came from in order to understand and contextualize where we are, appreciate where we are, and have a sense of where we are going or should be going. As I previously stated, the golden share and the majority shares that should have been held in, or the majority control of the company that should have been held for the public, was eventually sold off to Mr. Ashcroft. And Mr. Ashcroft wanted to, he was not giving out the dividends as often as he should have. He was always holding back on not wanting to, because at that point he had held majority shares, and he was dictating the pros and cons and the directorship of the company and how they would manage and run the company. So he was taking all the assets of the company, all the benefits of the company, and accruing it onto himself. Okay? A lot of people weren't getting their stipends, their dividends, from the company, and the government could not collect no taxes from dividends that were not given out. Because Mr. Ashcroft was always declaring that, he had to keep the company solvent, and therefore the cash flow, if he gave out too much of the money, he will not have the cash flow to keep the business as an ongoing, successful or productive business. So for a few years that went on, got to the point where people start, okay, I see the deputy, the co-chairman is on behind the scene here. Let me bring him on, and then I'll just excuse myself from my previous comment. Mr. Chairman?
Good evening. Good evening,
Good night,
sir.
sir. Before I finish, turn over to you quickly, could you forbear with me an opportunity of about at least maybe 2 minutes,
Yeah.
just so I could bring to a
Okay.
close what I was trying to say, instead of just leaving people out there in limbo. But I
Yes,
just like to first defer to you for your um, self-identification, sir, and then you could let me have a 2 minutes afterwards, if you don't mind. I yield to you,
okay.
sir.
Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen out there in the diaspora and here settled out in Belize. Uh, it's a pleasure being with you this evening. My name is Gregory Morrison. I'm living in California, originally from Belize. And it's always a pleasure being here with you, Mr. Brackett.
The
It's a
pleasure is
pleasure.
mine too, sir.
So thank you very much, and please continue.
Thank you very much, sir. Um, I'll just go ahead then and take maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes probably, just to close out the thoughts that I had in the middle of what I was saying just now. And so the company um, bylaws said that no one private person should be able to gain majority shares and own it or control it. It was supposed to have been for the general public benefit and the government. And one shareholder might be able to garner a certain amount, but they cannot garner enough to be able to become majority shareholder. And that law was violated. That by law was violated. And I think it was under the PUP government that Mr. Um, Ashcroft actually got possession of the company. Why? Because he had other people buying shares in there in other organizations' name on his behalf. So he was scamming the system, and he ended up getting the majority shareholder, and that's why then he wasn't giving the people their dividends and things. And so there was another group of individuals who wanted to create a small company, Intelco, and that Intelco company needed to be able to get um, connectivity through the BTL that Mr. Ashcroft was controlling, and Mr. Ashcroft refused. And the Intelco people then were some of them that belonged to the government of the day at that time. So they put pressure on Mr. What's it calling Mr. Ashcroft, because of his violations of the rules initially, and eventually they kind of dispossessed him of the company, and that created a big problem between the PUP, Mr. Musa administration then, and Mr. Ashcroft. And they turned around and took away the company from Mr. Ashcroft, and they gave it to to another man by the name of Mr. Prosser. They tried different schemes and it didn't work. And then one Mr. Prosser ended up getting the control. And what we had found out is that when we were asking Mr. Musa if he got paid for the company from Mr. Prosser, he was telling the public, yes, he had gotten paid. Only for us to find out after the fact when Mr. Prosser had taken out a lot of um, the liquid funds out of the company under his control, that we found out that the man had paid Mr. Musa with an IOU, and then he took off with the assets that he was able to grab or cash flows. And then Mr. Musa turned around and ended up selling it back to Mr. Ashcroft. And when Mr. Ashcroft was doing the same shenanigan again, when the UDP won and came into power, the UDP decided to strip him of it. They went through the legislature and they made laws and things, and blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, they took it over not privately, they took it over to make it a government control. They used social security money and money from other places, and they took it over. And at the end of the day, I don't see the other panelists, so I'll just quickly close out. At the end of the day, we end up where we are now because we took back the thing under Mr. Barrow and made it a public company. And because we sold some small amount of shares, they gave one of the director position to those who were members of that small shareholders group. But at the end of the day, it was mostly a government-owned and controlled entity. And Mr. Briceño's family was controlling part of Smart, which Mr. Ashcroft had taken back from them. And Mr. Ashcroft and the Briceño family wanted to have our BTL, public-owned BTL, by their company because they wanted to cash out. And we, the Belizean people, have not been given so far any proper documentation for us to be able to know whether we are getting value for our money. But yet, the Prime Minister, who controls the members and appoint the members of the board and direct the members of the board to proceed, despite the public's clamor, to go ahead and have private director meetings for them to decide that they're going to go ahead and buy this other private company and then put ourselves in mortal danger of having the owner of this private company, the same previous Mr. Ashcroft that we have been dealing with a whole lot of shenanigans in the past, to turn around now after they make this approval and be able to take us to court if we don't consummate the deal. Because that's how he operates. He gets money one way or another out of our governance system, which basically will say he gets money out of we the public's hide. That's criminal, unreasonable, and unfair for our prime minister to be indulging in those kind of skullduggeries. But at this point, at some other stage, we're going to have further discussion. I promised the chairman that I only wanted to close out my thoughts, and I think I went beyond that. So I'll yield for right now, sir, and turn back the show to you.
Thank you very much. You were making some good points running down on the history and the
Go right ahead, sir. Take it just in case it might be something important. I'll just make another comment until we're ready. Yes. So, right now the Prime Minister family has some assets that they want to sell to BTL, which is our private or our government company. But the chairman of the board appears not to even recognize or know. He's not knowledgeable enough to realize that as the chairman of the board, he should know that that company belongs to we, the people of the country. It is our money that controls the majority shareholding in that company. No minority shareholding have any power to arbitrarily and capriciously decide that they're going to run this company like a private company without our input and or knowledge, or they won't do any kind of hanky-panky they want, and they're going to operate it as if there was a private board or a private organization. That's what the idiot come and tell us in public, as if he isn't supposed to have enough knowledge to know that as the appointed chairman of the board of directors, that he should not be telling us that this thing is public. I mean, that this thing is owned as a private venture and that he won't run this thing as a private organization. It's our money. So on that point alone, he should have been vanished away from that board. But he was put there for a purpose. That is to run BTL in at the ground so that BTL gets to a point where we could sell it off again back to Mr. Ashcroft or some other private entity. That's what all these jackals do when they get into office. They turn around and take, they seize on our government assets and they sell it to each other or others, strangers or whatever, with some kickback coming from somewhere else. And at the end of the day, they dispossess the government of its money-making assets. Are you back, sir? If you're ready at this point.
Thank you very much. I was pointing out you were making some very good points and tracking where we are and how we have just been recycling this level of corruption over and over and over. And each time it costs the people of Belize hundreds of millions of dollars.
Over $1.5 billion so far, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Hundreds of millions of dollars each time we go through this entanglement of trying to serve two masters. This evening, though, Mr. Chairman, I want to talk about what is happening to our democracy. I have a couple ideas on that, uh, and why we're having this erosion of trust in our system, and then it directly leads to the failure of our governance. That sometimes we want to think it's the Constitution, it's all these things, but then it's the system. But then when we look at it closely, it is the way we are practicing our democracy, the way we are practicing our governance, the way we are practicing accountability. We have failed to set that up. And sometimes we want to think of it as political accountability, but I think it goes far beyond that. It is business accountability, it is personal accountability, it is religious accountability. It is a failure that we're seeing
Systemic,
at
systemic.
every sustained level within our society, and what we need to do to kind of bring some of this back. We have seen this, we have not seen this level of corruption. Some people said the UDP government was corrupt. We do have areas of where the past government, where there was definite corruption. We saw that in visa, in immigration department. We saw it in the lands department. But I don't believe that we have seen anything so
This
blatantly
level
and so
on
self-serving and so circular and so supported by a prime minister ever that we are seeing at this level. He
on
speaks with
on
one
steroids.
voice, with
On
one
steroids,
mouth.
Mr. Chairman. What we have right now is everything in the past that was so onerous and so bad where the other people were kicked out. We have it now on steroids, a lot worse.
Yeah,
And we have no control or ability to be able to remedy it. And that's why they keep treating us the way they treat us because they recognize that reality too.
yeah, yeah. Most definitely, Mr. Brackett. And so we need to kind of figure out how we could pull back and how we could make sure that we find ways to make our government more accountable. And one of them definitely, I have long been not a proponent of UNCA because I believe it takes away a nation's sovereign domain to manage and govern and deal with its own issues of corruption. We haven't seen that system work. There's no evidence that we have seen it work successfully. We have seen people go to jail for it. We have seen things happen around it that gives it a chance that some people may feel comfortable that finally we're holding these bastards accountable. But I don't know how deeply it actually serves the national interest in all its areas that it's supposed to. So I still remain a little bit abstained from it, but I'm coming around to sort of wondering if it couldn't, in a short term, solve some of our immediate problems of corruption, because it seems to me that both parties give it lip service when they're out of government. But once they're in, they're willing to forgive all evil. They're willing to forget this and the implementation of it. And they are willing to themselves close their eyes when the corruption is happening on their side. So that has made me wonder if there isn't a little bit of hope that could be given to the people to stop this systemic breach of our system of accountability. At least I believe it will put in place structures of oversight, and it may also put in place structures that may hold wrongdoers accountable, that it may be a deterrent to some of the actions we're seeing. Because what we're witnessing, I want to say, is so blatant, it's so egregious, it is so detrimental to our good governance, and to any sign of development that we could have in our country, because we truly are a country with very limited resources. And we just saw recently the Prime Minister and the government determining that they were going to impose a tax at the municipal airports throughout the country, a $10 tax to deal with issues of security and other measures that must be implemented. But we must not forget, not too long ago, this same government awarded contracts to people to perform security duties at our airport, both the international Philip Golson and at our municipal airport. And for 4 months, these individuals or these companies were paid and did not perform any work. And there was nothing to come back and say, return this money because you did not perform these services. And we know that these people that had these contracts were connected through the Prime Minister's office and people that are higher ups in those positions of executive governance in our country. And so we need to figure out how are we going to hold these individuals accountable. So I'll let you jump in, Mr. Mr.
Thank you
Brackett.
very much, Mr. Chairman. Um, I'd venture to say, from my own personal perspective and knowledge base and archives, that two of these individuals that you made reference to just now, just by passing without calling names, two of them are actually now ministers. Well, not I won't say ministers, but um, they are actually now members of cabinet, elected officials, members of cabinet, as a matter of fact. And for clarity, I'll call name. Miss Tia Garcia used to work at the airport there as one of the head honchos during the time when that stupidness took place, okay? She is now an elected member from Corozal B, which basically is Corozal tongue minus the little extra bits and pieces of the tongue that relates to the other divisions in that area, for those who follow politics clearly. So I've called a name to validate the fact of what you said just now has its merits and it has its fact that can be substantiated in terms of backing up what you said. I'll call another name, Mr. Martinez from Toledo East, who was giving contracts left, right, and center to people that should not have been given any contracts, that didn't even have an address, whose address, when people went to try and investigate what was actually happening, they found out that those addresses didn't even exist. But yet, checks was being forwarded to credit unions. And was it not because the credit unions, they asked questions, that particular issue would not have blown out? You would not have known that that has been going on for a while before then. And as of today, date still goes on in a different way. The Prime Minister is going to come to us and tell us, oh, he didn't know anything about those things that was going on then. Today, date, he's telling us he don't know about what's been going on in the BDF department either. And that he didn't know that his cabinet secretary is sitting with him every Tuesday in cabinet meeting and other times had his name used for one of the companies them that was fleecing the military budget. And we can go on and go on and go on. And I could call the names because I know where the skeletons are, like I said. And sometimes I call names not just because of being gratuitous, because I know and just want to expose people. Of course, when they are criminal and acting in criminal ways, I don't have a problem exposing them. But I call the names for people to realize that I'm not talking just something in the sky or making a statement, a blank statement, just because I have a pure lip. I'm speaking to matter of facts. Criminal conduct under the guise of state power, aiding and abetting it, all the way up to the Ministry of Finance. And you can take it to the bank that if we investigate any other government department, more likely than not, we're going to find many other um, shortcomings there as well. Because the smart stream payment system is being gamed not only by the ones that we have in public right now, but by many others who are not publicized yet. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, thank you. You know, you pointed out that they used the gentleman's name, but they didn't just use the gentleman's name. Mr. Leslie is a director in the company that
Exactly.
was contracted to work with the Ministry of Finance.
The company name is a three-letter company, three-letter word, three-letter name.
Yeah,
And two of the letters them is from his Stuart Leslie, the initials them.
yeah,
And the other third letter is from the other gentleman. And
yeah.
then he turn around and say, well, they were only trying to help a friend. What the hell you want to help a friend commit a crime when you are sitting in cabinet as a member of cabinet circles and you will betray the country's national priorities and prerogatives to help a friend steal money from the treasury or to, uh,
Yeah.
anytime
No,
I start talking
you know,
anything, and
it
it,
is.
it just
Yeah,
it riles me up. So make a play cool for right now.
yeah. You know, those points are so
Bunch of
valid.
scoundrels,
We have
man.
so drifted away from honesty and good governance. We have so far drifted from integrity. We have so far drifted from accountable that this has become a self-serving trough where everyone is going there and seeing how much they can fleece, how much they can get off the people of the country, and providing very little in return for it. It's just self-serving. And, you know,
Mr. Chairman, the Minister of Health, as a man getting in office, the first thing you do is go and grab lands. And he had to turn back the lands more because those were lands that was supposed to have been set aside for a special purpose. He was forced to give it back. Everybody is getting lands, they're getting all kind of perks. The least that can be expected of them, do the people's job. Do the job for which you're being paid a salary, in addition to all the perks that you're getting. But they want to do the criminal acts and the hustle to the point where they are neglecting the people's business. You have to bring the people along with you. You have to take care of the country. Just kind of hustle, hustle, hustle. Are you back, sir?
yeah, yeah. It is devastating. And in a small country like Belize, we could understand some of the family dynamics. We could understand some of the interplay. We could understand that you're the person that may be getting a job, may be related to you, and all that. That's all understandable. What we have failed to set up is a structure that provides transparency, that provides clarity, and provides fairness. I don't think anyone is upset that a family member was able to win a contract.
There's
Nobody,
nothing,
there's
Mr.
no,
Chairman. There should be nothing wrong with that because they are also Belizeans and they need to earn a living and make a living and survive. So for them to participate in the process, submit them bid and win the contract, that's following the procedures and protocol. Not if they're brother or sister, uncle, auntie, man, or whoever. If they follow the process, they're entitled to make a living. The Constitution tells us that. It requires that of the government. But when these guys are going to take away the contracts that other people had before and give it to themselves and kick out other people who need to feed themselves as well, then they are breaking the laws, they are breaking the Constitution.
yeah,
They are being arbitrary and capricious and being greedy and selfish. And then they corner all these contracts onto themselves or preferred individuals. That's not the way the system is supposed to work. Then they're going
yeah.
to complain and say, well, it's a British system we inherit, so therefore they must be allowed to commit crimes. Are they crazy or stupid, or we think that we are the ones crazy or stupid out here? Are you back, sir?
Yeah.
That's crazy,
Yeah,
man.
I was saying there's no doubt that the people that win these contracts will be somehow tangentially connected to us or directly connected and related to us, and that's not the issue. The issue we face is that there's so much unfairness in the system that we're not bidding, having competitive bid, then we're creating situation where items are being purchased for values, for prices in excess of their true value or what could be gotten competitively. We're we're getting charged and we're not sure in fact that the goods are being delivered. We're bidding and paying excessive price for inferior products,
Mm-hmm.
whether it be armament or food or whatever. It seems that the greed is so insatiable. It is so the only word I could think is a word my mom used to say, and I don't know how it applies here, but rambunctious. It is just so disgraceful that it undermines everything. And we see it at every level in our society. We see it at the minister's level, we see it at the CEO's level, we see it at the clerk, at the secretary level in the governance, we see it at the clerk in the ministry of
But Mr. Chairman,
in all of our ministries and our
Mr.
civil
Chairman,
service.
what makes it worse is that these jackals are trying to criminalize us for complaining. They're trying to shut us down
Yeah,
from
yeah.
what the Constitution says we're entitled to do. That is freedom of speech to communicate with each other and anybody else.
Yeah.
They're trying to shut us down, and because we open our mouth and talk and complain about their shortcomings, they want to criminalize us, and send us to jail and do all kind of nonsense with us, you know. And none
Yeah.
of them who are committing the crime or guilty of the real crime, well, at least not guilty yet, because in their mind they are not guilty until found guilty by a court. But they are committing a crime. Then let's say it like that.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They definitely are. It is quite
Yeah,
obvious that it is quite obvious from everything we have seen that there has been criminality in the behavior of what's going on, and so I think that that situation that we're finding ourselves in with all this level of corruption, all this level of inaccountability, it brings me to the point where I'm saying that probably um, having some UN organization of UNCA may in fact gives us a little bit of rest from what's going on and may give us the opportunity as a country and a people to collectively come together and recognize what's wrong. At least it would create a debate and an understanding amongst our people that it is wrong. And it doesn't matter because sometimes the problem we have as a people, as a country, as individuals, as political animals is that if it is my party, it's okay. It's my time to eat. It's only bad when the other guy is doing it. But
mm-hmm.
we need to recognize the harm that this level of corruption is actually doing to our nation. It's actually doing to our people. And it does not go unforgiven. Because when we don't have resources, medication at the government hospital, people die.
Exactly.
People die. When we don't have the resources to patrol the street and we don't have the resources to provide meaningful opportunities, whether it be educational, vocational, training, opportunities for land, to survey land and give land to citizens and people. We live in this congestion upon each other where we're in constant conflict with each other. It creates and it fosters
Pressure, pressure.
the conditions that we see with the gangs. And so it is not benign when the government, any government, is willing to take $6.9 million and say, we will pay for a land. It's not going to come out of the funding and it's okay. Because when there were
But Mr. Chairman,
opportunities,
the kind of
yeah,
land. I
yeah,
mean that makes it
yeah,
totally.
Yeah,
egregious,
yeah. That when there were opportunities to have
free land.
land that the government already has control of in some ways, that's already available to the government through the UB, and it would have been a more appropriate placement to have put the hospital on the property where the university was, and having it have the university have a teaching hospital.
That was
It
the
would,
original concept.
yes, it was a very valid and very good concept, but corruption seeped into it, right? A chance to finagle some money and to have political funding, and so the process got thwarted and corrupted, and then it takes away from the limited resources. And as I said before, it is not a situation where it goes without a victim. We create our own victims by these processes when we fail to have fairness in terms of how government spends its money. So I'll go back to you on
Uh,
any point
th-
there, Mr.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Uh, ca- can you allow me the privilege to read a part of the Constitution for the public's benefit?
Yes,
I
please.
know we are familiar with this reading because we have done it a few times
No,
before,
please go ahead. Please
and
go ahead.
but the, a lot of people who listen to our programs sometimes it's the first time that they're hearing these things from the Constitution itself. They know there's a Constitution, but they're not familiar with what it says, what it means, and how it affects them on a day-to-day basis. And as a matter of fact, the complaint that we are having right now, from what you are saying and I'm saying, and other people are saying, is that we need to change the system. We need to change the Constitution in order for us to get good governance. We need to change in order for us to, for these people that are now committing the crimes, in order for them to stop committing the crimes, we need to change the law because the current laws that we have on the book, they're disrespecting, disregarding, they're ignoring. And the way the system is set up is that the primary people who are committing the laws are supported and backed up by the security systems in our country. That is that the police, the BDF, the Coast Guard, all of them are the beck and call of the ministers and prime minister and other higher up people in the society. So they can blame us inheriting what they call as, a colonial mentality or colonial mindset or a colonial system of governance and try to blame the colonial system of governance that we inherited to exculpate themselves and each other from the crimes that they were actually committing in violation of the very laws that we have on the books. Because I would like, uh, if I was, I know I would be tickled to death if one day the DPP, which is an independent um, accountability arm of our governance system, if the DPP would end up at the Prime Minister's office with a summons for him to appear in court to answer for criminal conduct. Or for that matter of fact, any of the other ministers, their office. In fact, right now, the ones that we're looking at, I doubt very much that anything going to come out of this investigation that they're having, and that the DPP could be given any folder which would have anything more than nothing in there for her to probably go ahead and prosecute some of these guys, because that's her purview, that's her responsibility. And the Attorney General himself, as a matter of fact, as the primary lawyer of our government, which is us, he should be looking after our affairs and putting his legal capabilities and his office to make sure that these shenanigans are not happening. Nothing will come out of it, like with the Budana situation. They do two investigations, they could do three, they could do 1,000 investigations, and at the end of each and every one of those investigations, the people who are in charge and who holds the records or information could always exculpate whoever they want to at the end of the day, the point where there's nobody to be prosecuted because there's not enough evidence collected through any proper investigation and the custody of those records for somebody to be tried and declared guilty of the crimes that is obvious to us that is being committed. So I just wanted to read this little piece here of the Constitution of Belize, Part 10, and where it says it speaks about miscellaneous, and the miscellaneous that is speaking to in regards to Section 121, subsection 1, is about what is required of any high-level government officer, what they are mandated to comply with as a part of the allegiance that they swear to the Constitution and the people of Belize. It goes on to say, subsection 1, the persons to whom this section applies, this section of the Constitution as regards to Section 121, the person to whom this section applies shall conduct themselves in such a way as not to place themselves in positions in which they have or could have a conflict of interest. Paragraph P, as not to compromise the fair exercise of their public or official functions and duties. As regards to paragraph C, such as to use their office for private gain. They are not supposed to use their office for private gain, either directly or indirectly, by having other third parties being facilitated by them to rip off the system, and to cover for them. Paragraph D, they should not fall into a situation where they demean their office or position. As regards to paragraph E, they should not allow their integrity to be called into question, or, as in paragraph F, to endanger or diminish respect for, or confidence in the integrity of the government. This section shall apply to the Governor General, as I said earlier, any officer of the government, from the head executive down to the lowest person in any government office or department or employee. This section applies to the Governor General, members of the National Assembly, members of the Belize Advisory Council, who advises the Governor General in regards to critical matters of governance in the country, members of the Judicial and Legal Service Commission, whom the appellate court recently castigated for malfeasance in office, committing crimes under the color of law. The Security Services Commission, or the Public Service Commission, or members of the Election and Boundaries Commission, public officers of the statutory corporation, such as Mr. Bacon, Mr. Lizaraga, who is appointed by the Prime Minister to serve our Belizean rights and interests, to come and tell us craziness that he is running the company that we own majority share in, super majority share, as a matter of fact. He's running it as a private venture because as a private venture, they don't have to give account to the Belizean people or anybody else about what is it that they're doing or want to do. And because we get to know that they try to fleece share from a few other couple $100 million, because 190 plus, they didn't add to the 190 any legal fees or other costs. So it will turn out to be about 200 plus because they're going to be sued. And when they get sued, it's we, the government, we, the people of the government, have to come up with the taxes to be able to um, fight off that suit. We should not be put in a situation where at every turn of the way, for we government, they play hanky panky with Mr. Ashcroft and they hand over big chunks of millions and multi-millions of dollars to Mr. Ashcroft when we need that money to service our own government. We need that money for medical attention in the Ministry of Health. We need that money for for the defense personnel then that needs to be properly clothed, given proper shoes, and given proper food. We need that money for a lot of other things. And then they give this man, as of today, date over $1.5 billion. You know what $1.5 billion could do for Belize right now? If these jackals wasn't getting into that man pocket, borrowing money from him, and then turn around and give up free assets in exchange for the debt that they have with him, and having power play them at every step of the way, all he has to do is threaten to sue, and they give him multi-million dollars without having to sue. And they are going to claim that they're looking after our interests. And some of the idiots them back home there, because of party politics issues, they see what's going on, they know what's going on, they're not stupid. They hear and abet these criminalities. Why? It's their party. No party should come before your country. I yield back, Mr. Chairman. It's just frustrating,
Thank you
man.
very much. You know, we need to understand that every bit of our laws is actually based on the goodwill of the individual and the consciousness of our people to act lawfully. Because there's no way we could manage everybody that to be good. Our system is not designed for that. No legal system is designed that a majority or a significant amount of people will act with criminality. Otherwise, you overburden the system, you overtax the system, it becomes non-functional. And that is where we are right now. There's so much illegal stuff going on at every level that if all these things was to be brought to our court system, we'd have a logjam. Things would not function because the very people that are responsible for making the laws are breaking the laws. And when that starts happening in this level that we are seeing, the system becomes dysfunctional. It is not that the system needs fixing. It is that we need to have people of goodwill that will be law abiding, that will see that the system that they are supposed to do what they have committed themselves to do. But what we are missing, what we are definitely missing in our system as it's currently constructed, is that
Accountability, sir.
we don't have the guardrails to make sure that these people, when they slide off, are held accountable. So we are missing that level of monitoring and that level of accountability, and whatever penalty goes with those lawbreakers. And it's not that we don't have the laws; it's that we and
Same people are in charge of the laws.
the people that are in charge of the laws are unwilling
Oh, man.
at every level to 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 hold each other accountable. And this is whether it is. I mean, we have had shams
They're,
of
me-
where they
they're
arrested.
messing up the judiciary, Mr. Chairman. Then they hire lawyers, then they hire judges that will rule on behalf of the government and not on behalf of the people and or according to settled laws. They're beholden to ruling according to the government. The government makes the law according to them, and whatever the government says the law of the day or wants to have happen, these judges that we're having recently have been ruling in that pattern. They're not ruling according to the Constitution. As a matter of fact, they don't even want to answer the questions that are brought to them constitutionally.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of skullduggeries.
So what this has caused, a system is a complete erosion of our judiciary or legal system, and likewise it has now fallen into the causing a decay and a failure to fulfill our democratic principles. And so we need to figure out how to bring back the trust, how to remove this real contempt level of corruption that has passed through every structure of our governance.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
a quick point of, not a point of order, but a quick point, contributory point in regards to what could help us or what could be a solution, because we're talking about problems, and
Yes.
it's always nice. I'll follow your example now in that you always bring up the point about what could help or solve the problem. So I'm going to fall in that vein and make this particular comment. We don't have to wait till these guys are kicked out of office, because otherwise we're going to wait another 3 years. Between now and the next 3 years, who's to tell what else they're going to be doing? How far along we're going to be that we might not even be able to recover? Because if they're doing what they're doing now with the brass face that they are, who's to tell how much more emboldened they will be, and what else are they not capable of doing before their time of office is up? My contribution to the idea of solutions would be, we don't need to wait until the time to vote them out, because even then they might not be voted out. We need to hope and pray, because I tell you, the way these jackals operate, there are only some serious prayers maybe for those who believe in prayer might end up helping with this process. We can't grab them and arrest them personally, like I said earlier. So we just have to hope that enough members of cabinet will step in the breach and honor their promise to have fidelity to the Constitution and the people of the country, and to see that what's going on in cabinet, because it is hidden, doesn't necessarily become an albatross for mismanagement and skullduggery, for them to be helping and supporting each other with their criminal conduct or behavior in order for them not to be exposed. Because what goes on in cabinet should be public at some point in time, because the public business is what supposed to be transacted in cabinet, not no hanky-panky. So we need at least enough members in cabinet, at least as a majority, okay, to be able to stand up and tell the Prime Minister, this bold-faced thing that you try to do, the BTL, we know there with that. And I said, I said, like how Mr. Hyde said last time when he was on the restaurant, okay, on in the meeting that they had, he said that the kind of thing wasn't what PUP is all about. I know Mr. Julius is not along with that either. I know Mr. Young Musa Karim is not with that. I'm not too sure about Mr. Usher, the two Ushers then, okay? And I'm almost certain that Mr. Fonseca is
Yeah.
likely to give support to the Prime Minister, because Mr. Fonseca is the one that the Prime Minister is currently setting up to take over when he moves on. Okay, so he know and try filing and or follow out agreements with the gentleman. But we cannot have the members of cabinet who currently have the ability to be able to save us to just fall in line with this man and his craziness, making hustling them multi-million dollars out of we. It ought not to happen. And these guys should not allow it to happen. Because at the end of the day, they were put in those positions not to give Mr. Briceño any free pass for criminal conduct and any such ripoff, because none of them get no money out of the $200 million. Only the Briceño, Mr. Briceño, his family, and Mr. Ashcroft, and the Lizarragas, and the other one, them own the other lead companies, them, but then they try to put together for Selway. We don't need those things. If they don't want to continue in business, we don't have to pay them to not be in business. Let them go out of business if they want, or sell their asset to somebody else. But we should not be forced to put free money into their dead end assets, and then turn around and don't have the money for us to enhance, because the new system of telecommunication right now will be satellites, the modern satellites that Mr. Musk is putting up there. And at the
Certainly.
rate and the price that he's going to come to Belize and compete with, for all you know, the money where the guys they try hard out, we the money where they want to take or invest in the new system where Mr. Musk have. And then we'll be left with all ancient, decrepit stuff and no money to make a move to enhance it. So we'll become obsolete too then. That is my perspective. I could be wrong. But so far, the evidence doesn't indicate that I would be wrong. What I yield back, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Brackett.
You're welcome,
You
sir.
know, it shows deeply that the system we have needs tweaking. So I have no problem when the government posed this condition to have a constitutional reform commission. What concerns me about that is that they did not upfront identify areas where they wanted the public to engage in and areas where they thought the Constitution needed strengthening, tweaking, or revising. And they just spent a whole lot of money without giving us a focused guide rail of what they were hoping or what they were looking for. And
Or,
even if they were
or
looking,
any
let me
option,
finish,
Mr. Chairman,
let me finish,
any
let me
option.
finish.
They don't left no option for us.
Let me finish.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Even if they wanted us to revamp the whole Constitution, I think it would have been good for them in this instance to have given us some guidelines and say, you know what, we want to look at a different form of government. We want to look at a Republican sort of system. We want to have an elected prime minister.
Just be
We
honest and
want
upfront.
we want to have an elected Senate. These are the things we want you to consider,
Honest and
people.
upfront discussions, and we arrive at some conclusion at the end of
Yeah,
the day. But that's
yeah.
not what these guys are about.
So yes, so they just toss everything out there without giving the people any sense. And they said, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there.
And the Constitution requires them to give us an opportunity to speak to these issues before they go and make them into law. Because when they make it into law, and after it's challenged, if it gets challenged, and it's found to be unlawful, illegal, and unconstitutional, then we are also the ones that have to turn around and, pay the price or suffer the consequences. But in the meantime, a lot of other people getting hurt.
I think the failure, but it doesn't mean because sometimes we think this government put things aside and it will go away.
Mm-mm,
Like
mm-mm.
when they first said that they were going to investigate this and provide the answers to the people and
And they
where
wait till the Libris flow over.
what's the assets of Smart was and present
Nah,
a proper balanced report to the people, and nothing was presented, and then all of a sudden they resurrected it and tell us that the BTL board has is going to vote on it, and that
Mr.
before we know
Chairman,
it, they have agreed.
no board has the right or the authority to vote against its members' wishes. They are fiduciary entities on behalf of the rights of the voters. I mean, the people who own those shares. They cannot
Stockholders.
arbitrarily and capriciously decide that, okay, well, the owners want us to vote this way, but we won't vote the other way. That doesn't work legally. They could get them both sent to jail for that.
Well, you know
And they
the
should go to
yeah,
jail for that.
yeah. The funny thing is that when because the way our board are constructed, they're construed, and they have the government appointing them, the government appointing the
They
social.
still
I'm
have
looking.
they
I'm
still
looking
have
that. I'm
there's still
looking for the.
laws. There are laws that
I'm
they have
looking.
to
Let me
abide
finish.
by.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I'm looking that in all this that we're seeing, that we could see that there's a failure in how these government institutions are organized and established and how their appointments are made, and that we need to carefully examine how these entities and appointments can be more independent, more transparent. We see this just recently with
Uh,
the appoint. I'll
Mr.
give you
Chairman, can
I'll
I
give you
steal a
let me
second?
finish.
No, can I steal a
Let,
second? One second,
let me,
one second. I know, I know, I
no,
know, I know
I
I
will
take long
forget
with it.
my thought. I will
I know I
forget
take.
my thought.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
We've seen this very similarly with the HIPAA value on the establishment and reappointment and reorganization of the DFC, the Development Finance Corporation Board,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
then all of a sudden the reappointment looks like the same grouping. First there was no sense that there were
The,
public
the,
input, that there was going to be any difference in trying to establish the organization to be more transparent. Nothing happened that makes us have any more faith that
leopards
it's
and
going, that
leopards
it's
and hyenas don't change their spots, Mr.
that it's
Chairman.
going to be allowed to carry out its true mandate and commitment to the people. I'll let you speak, Mr. Brackett.
The point that I wanted to bring up just now was just to reinforce the very same point that you had brought up in regards to the boards. But I was trying to contribute
No, please go
a
ahead. Go
concept.
ahead. Go ahead.
I was trying to contribute this concept, and that is that if we should change the boards, like you were saying, I believe that the changes should come from this perspective. That is that any board that has five, three, or any unequal number as a members of boards, right, should have the majority for the government, just like how the Senate is set up, right, and a minority of members watchdog against the government inside the board rooms, them playing hanky panky and not allowing for the public to be aware of things because they have their meetings internally and they don't allow for the meeting information to get to the opposition who might rail up or condemn it or have a different perspective, and or any other small group of people like the independents. That's in our country, it is the independents that actually supports whoever becomes the government among the two major mass parties. So therefore, if they have five-member board, two should come from UDP, two from PUP, and they should have a member at the board, even if not a voting member, just an ex-officio officer on behalf of the independent and other small parties. And if we structure it like that for every government board or statutory bodies, at least we'll be able to know what the hell they're carrying on with, and when they're going to try and pull some fast one or compromise the public purse by committing a crime and doing these kind of shenanigans. We have to have people. If Mr. Chandra Nisbet wasn't on that board, for example, as an independent-minded person, they would have long ago had their meeting, voted, carried the day because they have majority who would have gone ahead and done it. One, two people out of the what 7, 8, 9 members board, wouldn't have made a difference. They would have still had the ability to carry forward and and win the day, and they would not have been stopped. But it's because the public get to know what was going on behind the scene, and the public was not in tune with that. They decided to hold the thing off for a little while, change the board member, get a new board member to supplement the one that squealed on them, and then turn around, and because they wait till the breeze blow over, or like they say, wait till it blow over like one leaf breeze, and then they gonna have their meeting unexpectedly by everybody else. Nobody else knew that the meeting was going to happen until the day when the meeting was supposed to happen. And then they call up each other and tell them that, okay, well, the meeting will happen at a certain such and such date. Okay? Because they are predisposed to criminal conduct. It's not that the rules aren't there. They don't want to abide by the rules. And that's throughout the whole system. So a true solution would be, like I said earlier, piggybacking on your previous concept of the board members then, make sure that we have watchdogs in those board as members of the board. That the prime minister is not the person who appointed all these board members to the point where we, the public, can't get to know what the hell is going on, because those are statutory bodies, they are public bodies, they are dealing with a company that is publicly owned and not privately owned, that the chairman of the board was trying to hoodwink and tell the public. He was off his rockers when he came out and made that kind of statement, either in ignorance or outright connivingness. I yield back, sir.
Thank you very much. Yeah,
You're welcome, Mr. Chairman.
yeah, as I was saying, we need to figure out ways to make these boards, and you brought some good options. We need to figure out ways to statutorily make these boards more independent, more transparent, and more um, representative of the diverse opinions and ideas that are out there. And while it may not be politically expedient, it certainly, I believe, is going to allow us to more soundly make decisions
Proper
that is in
representation as
that
a
is in
minimum.
the it will allow us to make more sound decisions that will carry the day and will be in the interest of whatever the prevailing ideas and opinions are of the people of the day. So
In order to
that
get that, in order to get that done, Mr. Chairman, we still need to have them agree, and they don't agree to anything that stops them in their track from doing the thing that they're trying to do. So it's an uphill battle, and they could be sued
well,
for
I
what they have
understand.
already done.
Yeah, yeah. No, I understand. I'm saying that if they have the idea of creating a development plan for the country. If they envision for the country a level of development that we must
They are not
attain,
amenable to help. They are not amenable to
that we,
help.
that we
That has
that
been
we
tried
must
over and
attain,
over.
that we must attain to keep progressing for our people and for our nation, and not to fall within the whims of a failed state, then these things will need to be done. You know, I was reading something that was saying that probably in another 2 years, call centers will no longer be necessary or to the degree that it is right now.
In
And
a
right
year,
now,
in about a year or less.
yeah, call
In about a
centers,
year or less.
call
That's
centers right, call centers right now provides a significant and uplift of employment at a
economic.
decently good salary for many young Belizeans.
Mm-hmm.
And
What's going to happen?
and
What's going to
and
happen? Are we
if we
preparing for that?
if we don't start looking at true options that will bring us the progress and development we need, we're going to be caught in a real hurt when these entities start moving away and not needing the service that our young people are providing at a very well paid, handsome salary. And it was going to create the chaos. And I don't think we all want to be sitting with a tray in our hands trying to feed someone that came off the boat or jumped off the plane. So it is important that our government start looking at these issues with an insight as to how to address the true concerns, and by addressing those concerns and stop wasting money, it will give them the opportunity to start looking at development plans. There's
Mr. Chairman?
there's a
Let,
transition.
oh,
There's a
sorry.
transition where we could go into different areas of AI in Belize. We have smart people that could be developing apps and all type of stuff. We could
Mm-hmm.
be trained for those things. We could be a hub for many of those opportunities and many of the development and stuff. But we need
Man,
to,
and they try to kill that right now when they talk about suppress the internet activities of some people who are trying to make a little money on the side, on with TikTok and whatever else. Not these guys are just about how much they can pull out of the people in the pocket to make them could hustle and use it for them. And for example, with this new thing when that they're after right now with the port of Belize, that they want to bring in this next big company from outside, that they have already set aside, according to them, $400 million. Why can't that $400 million be used right now for helping the government move the country forward in terms of certain things that they claim that they don't have the money for? But they have the ability to set aside these monies to get involved with these private investors that they're gonna have some kind of inside track to own some shares of these other people's ventures, okay? Legally and lawfully. Our money that will be used for them to become enriched with. Look at the bus company. They're using up a lot of our money right now, and they don't even pay the people in the kind of money what them say they was going to pay them. What they're trying to do is put these people against the wall, pressure them, so that they could walk away voluntarily without they having to be sued or pushed, or and then they just end up taking the thing and privatize it to themselves. Everything they touch, they privatize. And it's our own money that they use to buy and make private these entities that they end up controlling. And then the government don't have any way of making money to pay its bills, but they don't care because their families then are fortified economically. They're dealing with rascals. Anyhow, I think we have gotten to that point, so I'll just I'll yield back to you, Mr. Chairman, for your closing remarks, sir,
oh,
in
yes,
regards to.
well, thank you very much. I want to thank you, Mr. Brackett, for giving me the opportunity to sit in as the chairman for a
You're
bit of
welcome,
this
sir.
evening. And I want to thank all the people across Belize and the diaspora that has joined us this evening. And we'll also pick up it in streaming later on. It is always a pleasure being here with you. And we
We have,
always try to,
Mr. Chairman, we have listeners from Australia, we have listeners from,
yes,
from,
I
from
know,
Asia. We
yeah.
have.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir. Yeah,
I,
I'll
I, I
just.
was I was looking for I was looking on Facebook today, and someone said, "I'm a Belizean in Sweden. Are there
Oh,
other Belizeans here?"
mhm.
We have spread our wings far, vast, and wide, and so I want to thank all of you for joining us. And as we come in each time, we 3 days a week, we approach you with humility and with kindness and with concern for all of our well-being. And I don't believe in this position that we hold. We are practicing any specific political divisiveness. We're speaking in terms of what is best for the country. And we at times find it necessary to lean on some of the party we support, whether it be UDP or PUP. But what we hope for and what we demand is that the government acts with the interest and the integrity and with service to the people, meeting their commitment and be abiding to our constitution, and to make sure that we can leave for our generations a jewel and a prosperous country, because none of us here is going to be here forever. We are all pass on in time, but we want to make sure that the government of the day is doing what is good for all our people, so that we're not squandering what limited resource we have and creating unnecessary hardship and ultimately death, because these death could be the failure of the hospital to perform, it could be the failure of the roads to be a safe place to traverse, it could be the failure of not being able to live decently and creating the urban violence that we're seeing with gangs. All these are issues and failures that, while not directly being solved, all of them by government, they have a hand, and if they act responsibly, if they act with the interest of the nation, they can alleviate some of these problems that we are confronted with each day. So, with that, I want us all to think about these things, to be cognizant of them, and to be expectant of our government and hold them accountable and responsible. So, thank you
Uh,
and good night.
Mr. Chairman, can I make
Yes,
one
yes,
sentence? One
yes, please
sentence
go ahead. Please
of
go
the,
ahead.
I wish somehow or another enough members of cabinet would get a sense of urgency to help the country from going any deeper into this malaise than we currently are, because it's going to be much harder then later on to dig out from a deeper hole. But some of these gentlemen, enough of them, need to step to the plate and look out for the interests of their country and stop being selfish and personal and stop aid and abet criminal or criminality when they see it. And I could see in the eyes of a few of these gentlemen and the words that they're speaking and the way they're saying, some of them want to be able to do so. I wish enough of them would follow through and do so.
I agree with you. And I think what many of these people that we see standing up now realize is that the current leadership, the prime minister, is on his way out. And they will be the one left holding the bag if they allow this atrocious, probably criminal um, deal to proceed that would deplete the resources of a public corporation, with public funds, and would be a travesty because many people are going to lose and have lessened amount of income if Social Security was to put significant amount of money in this deal as they already have invested.
Hmm.
If they, and this deal does not pay off in the way that would be appropriate for the type of investment they're making. And
Mr. Chairman, it cannot pay off, sir, because they want to collect their money over a 5-year period. And the amount of money that they're going to collect over a 5-year period is more than what BTL was making per year. You know, the amount of money that BTL was making
well,
profit
that's
per
why I
year
said, yeah,
is what
that's
they
why I said
want
it
to.
would
So they're
deplete.
going to be getting all that money for the next 5 years, and nothing else going to be available to BTL to develop or to enhance or even to give as profit to their shareholder. When they already tell the shareholder it was a good deal, and they will get so much, and it seems like the government going to guarantee them getting that amount of money by keep on going to Social Security and other government funds to be able to help, as they're doing right now with the BEL. I
Yeah.
would just take money and buy BEL. No, they have to give money to BEL because BEL don't have the amount of profit to give them
What what
subscribers,
I
and they
what I
made
would
promise
like
to them.
what I would like to see
It's an
with
ongoing craziness.
what I would like to see with Social Security funds is that somehow they go to one of the banks and set up a little micro financing arrangement so that they allocate, I don't know, a small amount of money to address some of the needs for microfinancing in our country, whether it's a 5, 10, $50 million amount
That
that
would be
we
that would be
that
good,
we
Mr. Chairman. But the people in them, the Social Security people in them want pay
well,
the
I'm
people in where
dropping
it
something in
deserve.
their ear. I'm dropping something in
Uh-huh,
their ear.
uh-huh,
I'm
Go
dropping
ahead.
something in their ear.
I yield, sir. I
That
yield.
they would somehow approach one of the banks. I don't know which one they feel is would best suited for it. Whether
We have the
you know,
one local Belize bank, not Belize bank, we one Bank of Belize
yeah,
now, that they
yeah,
could
yeah, yeah,
use
yeah.
to help
Yeah.
foster those kind of
Yeah.
activities.
So I because I believe that with all that's happening with AI and this type of technology and stuff, a lot of people with smarts can develop sort of
Given the
little
opportunity.
entrepreneurial
Uh-huh.
capabilities that if they could spend the time to develop it and finance it, it could really benefit this country and it could be global benefit
Hmm.
and be a contributor to our GDP over time. So, and I think the incubator for that could be funding from Social Security. They're currently sitting on a lot of money, and I know that's why the government has eyes on it and wants to take it out of their hand and put it in in
A
their
one personal, a one packet.
in their pocket for their family. But if we could figure out and if Social Security could collaborate with some of these banks to sort of establish these microfinancing capability and entrepreneurial development workshop and stuff, I think it would be a good
Mr.
impetus for enterprise development in our country.
Mr. Chairman, very wonderful idea. It's just a pity that the people that are in the position to be able to grab those ideas and run with it and make it work and benefit the society as a whole, they're not interested in any kind of thing where help others. They're about themselves, and that's the problem.
Well, you know,
It's something about helping
Mr.
themselves.
Chairman, I'm not speaking to the government at this point. I'm speaking to the board
Yes,
of
but
Social
the
Security.
board only does what the government,
No, well,
the
I
people who
understand. I
appoint them
understand
do. You
that.
know, they don't do nothing independently or of their own.
Well, I understand that, but there's an important point that Social Security, in another 15, 20 years, they'll be start meeting with a heavy debt of making payments. And they need to get some of that money from just sitting there and just buying government bonds or whatever they're doing with it and make it really be challenging and be part of the growth impetus of our country and start helping to develop enterprise throughout the country. And with AI, I think it is going to be hastened and it's going to be an opportunity that they need to consider.
The Social Security, the DFC, the BTL, the all the statutory bodies that are running financing and so on through their system, most of the senior employees them or the board members them and or senior employees them, they are getting preferential treatment in terms of borrowing money out of those entities ahead of time. Some of them are even getting their salaries, processed for them before it is actually due. They're getting credits. They're getting all kinds of stuff. They're getting credit card. They get all kind of the ones that will travel abroad and so on and go for meetings and things like that. If the Belizean people would only be able to look behind those curtains and see exactly what the hell is going on, we'd probably have a revolution in our free country right now because there's only so much a human being could take.
Yeah.
But I yield back. Like I said, that was supposed to have been our closing, and
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank
hopefully,
you very much once again.
hopefully on Monday.
I
Go ahead.
think
Go
this
ahead.
is 472,
71.
71.
471, I
This is
think.
our
So I'm not,
400
I'm not even sure right now. No, I don't. I
yeah.
can't.
Well, thank you all and good night and
Yeah,
God bless and
471.
and have all have a wonderful weekend and we'll see you next Monday. Bye bye.
Good night. We're gone.